Well, that was a woeful day for me. Well, I happened to stay in town, let's say, a little longer than usual. I happened to spend a little more time at the White Horse Inn than I usually did, and got back to the barracks, got back to the base a little late. And of course, I got tired and, let's say, worn out. So I hit the sack right away. I went to bed right away. And this was, well, pretty early in the morning. And wouldn't you know, with my luck, I thought that at about 4 o'clock, there was a rap on the barracks door, and sergeant yelling his lungs out, "All right, you guys, let's go mission today. Let's go, get dressed, get going." And he's yelling his lungs out. And of course, we had to obey. We all started calling out. Well, we complained a little bit, let's say. First, it was too early in the morning, but he didn't hear us. He didn't hear us at all. He didn't want to hear us. So anyhow, he yelled, "Get out of bed, get going." And our first step out of bed was getting dressed and outfitted for the raid with all our equipment and everything else going. And nothing seemed to be in place. Everything was strewn about, and we were searching for stuff to put on, let's say. And I kept saying to myself, "Oh, this isn't going to be a good day. This is not going to be a good day. Nothing's going right so far." Well, to make matters worse, the next stop was breakfast. So we all were carted over to breakfast, actually. And usually we had a good breakfast at the base on raid days when we were flying missions, on mission days. And usually a good breakfast for us was real eggs, fresh eggs, fried eggs, or whichever way you wanted them. And we walked in there, and the very first thing the cook yelled at us, "Sorry guys, no fresh eggs today, powdered eggs today." And I moaned again. I cried and moaned and said, "Oh, this is not going to be a good day. Not going to be a good day." But the call was there. Mission today. We got to get going. So the next call was the briefing. We went into the briefing, and the captain there announced, "Well, we got a big one today." "Well, what do you mean big one?" "Germany. We were going by Germany. And again, I said, "Oh, that's a big target, and a lot of enemy aircraft, and a lot of and all that kind of stuff. We just hated to see those come up." And there again, I was crying the blues. This is not going to be a good day. This is not going to be a good day. Well, make matters worse, after the briefing, we were taken out to our planes, and our navigator at the plane took his parachute and he tried to throw it up through the hatch into the plane. Save himself a few steps by walking around the plane. He thought he could throw it in the hatch and get it in that way. He missed. Parachute came down on the ground, popped open like a big mushroom, and when I saw the mushroom, I just, this is not gonna be a good day. It simply is not gonna be a good day. So, and we radioed the tower of the incident, and they said they would send a parachute out for him, for the navigator, and that we could continue the mission. And in the meantime, the start engines order was given by the tower, so all the planes were starting their engines. And would you know, ours was a bit balky. It didn't want to start and run. As a matter of fact, we'd get it running and would spark out. And when that happened, again, I was crying the blues. Guess what? This is not going to be a good day. Not going to be a good day. Well, again, we sent out for help to the tower for help, and they said they sent somebody over. And in the meantime, they said to abort the mission because we were running late already. Well, anyhow, our pilot, he never negated that order. He says, nope, he's gonna finish that mission, and he was trying to start the engines, and they sent us help from the tower to help us start the engine, and they finally did. They finally got the engine running, but in the meantime, our squadron that we were attached to was already long gone. They were probably out, I would say over the Baltic Sea by that time. And we kept saying, too late, we can't go now, we'll be alone. Well, fortunately not necessarily fortunately, but I thought we were lucky. Along came the 535th Squadron, which was part of our group, came by, and they were headed for another target. So the pilots got together, they talked, and they agreed that our pilot could join their group, the 535th Squadron. They could join their group and fill in on their mission and on their squadron. So we did that, and wouldn't you know, we ended up in what we call the Purple Heart Corner, which is the very last plane in the formation. Very last plane, out in the open, all by himself, all by ourselves, like the very last plane, and easy target for the fighters. And when I heard that we were ending up in that position, guess what I said? It's gonna be a rough day. It's not gonna be a good day. I kept crying the blues all day. So that's the way we flew on our mission that day, and that's the day we were shot down by the Germans. On that day, and I was actually in no condition to complain because I was hit. I was wounded. I lost my eye. I was shot up in my side, and we lost a plane on that mission. We were shot down. That was a day for me to remember. And I can just picture myself. I didn't lose consciousness. As a matter of fact, I bailed out unconscious when I came to. I was captured by the farmers out there, and I can imagine you thinking that I probably thought to myself again, this isn't going to be a good day. That's the way that day ended for me. I was a prisoner of war at that time.
Tell them about the farmers that picked you up.
Right.
Tell them about the farmers
Well, yeah, I was picked up by 3 farmers. They said they saw me coming down in a parachute, and of course they knew about where I was going to land, and I landed actually right next to an autobahn in Germany, and I tried to hide in that autobahn in the bushes and the brush there, but it was too sparse, and I really couldn't find a place to hide. So I just sat down there. I couldn't move because my legs hurt, my back hurt, I just stumbling along. Oh. So stumbling along, and these farmers came upon me, and they picked me up, threw me in their car, and took me to their farmhouse. There they set me in the middle of the room in a stool, and they started searching me. They were going through my pockets. For anything special that they thought may be worthwhile. And I, as a matter of fact, didn't carry anything on my missions because I thought of that. And the only thing I did carry was my dog tags. So that's the only thing they could find on me. And they kept searching, hoping they could find something. And there was this little old lady. I call her the Hausfrau. She was protecting me from those farmers. She was even fighting with them, wrestling with them. She had one guy in a neck hole, wrestling with him and screaming at him in German and all that. And later on, I found out that she was thinking of her son when she was protecting me like that, that if her son in the German army would have been in the same position with an American soldier, that he would be getting the treatment she was giving me. And I thought that was quite plausible. I believe it. But no, she tried her best to keep away from me. It didn't work for her. And then finally, one of the German soldiers, they finally came after the farmers called them. They took me to a local hospital, patched me up. I was bleeding with the wounds. And then from there, they took me to a military hospital in Frankfurt, Germany. I spent quite a few days in that hospital, and I was interrogated there at that time. And then from there, I went to my first prison camp, which was in East Prussia, in Germany, in East Prussia, and spent some time over there. And when I got to my first prison camp, I was rudely awakened to the war, really, you could say. When we got there, they opened the doors, let us in, and just as we got in there, at least I heard gunfire, and then dogs barking, and guards yelling and screaming and everything. Two prisoners there were trying to escape at that same time. And, well, from what I understand, one was shot and the other one was brought back to the prison camp. And then from that camp, I spent some time in that camp. Then the Russians were advancing in that area, and the Germans moved us so we wouldn't be liberated. And they moved us to second prison camp was Stalag Luft 4 in Poland. Well, it was Poland when the Germans took over, and the prison they set up a prison camp there, and that's the one they took us to. They loaded us onto ore boats, and shipped us on the Baltic Sea to Schweinemunde, was the name of the port, and from there by train we got shipped to that prison camp in Poland. And from there, we moved again, just because the Russians were advancing again at that time. And this time on foot. They had us marching from actually, you could say the Baltic Sea all the way down to Leipzig, Germany. It was actually, it was a 82-day march. They had us marching. They called it a death march for us too. But we were on the road for 42 days. And we spent that time on the road marching, actually simply away from the Russians, because the Germans said they didn't want to turn us over to the Russians, because they would just gather us with the rest of the bunch they had there, all kinds of prisoners, people too, and they would just simply forget about us, just dump us somewhere in another prison camp, just simply forget about us, and possibly, I was thinking, cause our demise there in that area.
How were you liberated on the 82nd day?
Yeah?
How were you liberated on the 82nd day?
Well, it was actually a simple measure. We kept marching and keeping away from the Russians, and we were met by Patton's Third Army and coming up from the south in the D-Day invasion, and actually in that move, the Germans became prisoners, and we were liberated at that time. Just swap places. It was easy, but we had to march that distance all the way from that second prison camp all the way to Leipzig. That was a long walk.
Good job.